Thanks for joining us for today's Daily Touchpoint. My question for you is, have you ever made something worse by neglecting an important first step? Sadly, this happens to me all the time when I bake. I love baking, and sometimes I get a little cocky and a little confident, and I decide to neglect reading the recipe fully. And what ends up happening is I miss a really important first step, like cooling the butter completely, or checking that your baking soda is not expired. True story, that happened. I made so many batches of cookies that were not turning out great simply because my baking soda was expired and I didn't read the recipe thoroughly to see that it reminded me to check for that. Throughout the story of 1st and 2nd Samuel, we see this theme of God exalting the humble and opposing the proud. In this chapter, we see Saul is operating in pride, and this leads him to neglect the Lord and instead turn inward. Like Saul, when we submit to our pride, it turns us inward and we start to make decisions based off of self-preservation and or self-glorification instead of seeking the Lord and his help and his presence and his glory. So Proverbs 16 tells us that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And spoiler, this is what is going to play out for Saul. His pride is going to lead to his own destruction. But for chapter 14 and verse 36 is what we're going to look at. We see that Saul makes a rash decision to go and fight the Philistines. He doesn't seek God about it. He doesn't seek other people about it. And he says, we're going to go and fight. And his friends, the other men, are like, if it sounds good to you, it sounds good to us. But at the end of this verse, a wise priest chimes in and he says, let's ask God first. The Message translation says that the priest slowed them down and said, let's find out what God thinks about this. Pride is taken down in our lives and humility is ushered in when we slow down and take the time to ask God, God, what do you think about this? What do you have to say about this? And what this does, it communicates to God, God, you're first in my life. You are Lord. You are King of my life. And my whole life, all of this, it's about you. And I'm going to seek you first and not make this call on my own or even attempt to make it in my own strength. So, CA, is there an area of your life that you may need to hear the voice of the wise priest saying, let's ask God first? Are there any areas you've been operating, trying to do as much as you can to either protect yourself or glorify yourself, that you've neglected to ask God for his help and strength and guidance and his plan in that thing? See, let's not waste any more time. Let's be people who seek God first. So seek him first, even after this video on that thing. But let's be people who seek God first as a way of humbly honoring him and not submitting to pride. Thanks for joining us.